if you can't step away from your business and it continue to function, you don't have a business. You have a high-paying job.
Welcome to the Four Fires Podcast, where we talk about winning in all four of the essential areas of life.
Welcome back to the Four Fires Podcast. This is Jeff Rice. I'm here with Alan today. We're going to be talking about the professional fire, but for any of you that are first-time listeners, this is a podcast where we talk about winning in the four essential areas of life, and the Four Fires is our framework for thinking about that. And so those four areas are the professional fire. It's identifying our craft and how we convert that craft into cash. We have our people fire because life is about relationships, and that's about managing well our family and friends relationships and making sure that we're taking care of the people in our life. And then the physical fire is made up of our physical health, and what we can control in that area of life is what we eat and how often we exercise. And then the last fire is the purpose fire, and that's about answering the question, do you think that you have a soul? And then recognizing that we have a creator, and then we say that the purpose fire is made up of our connectedness with our creator and how we live out our commitments to him, or does our creator have an expectation with the choices that we make in our life? So like I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about the professional fire, so welcome Alan to the podcast.
Yeah, always fun to get to do podcasts.
Yeah, so today, Alan, I've heard you talk about this idea of the freedom model, so I'm curious, and the listeners are curious. They want to know, what is the freedom model? So I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, so we have an opportunity in a lot of the executive coaching that we do to work with business owners and help them design their businesses in ways that don't wreck their lives. I mean, the Four Fires is really about not just winning in one of those areas, but how do we win at all four? And part of that means keeping everything in check, right? So that we don't let one of our fires be all-consuming or soak up too many of our logs at the detriment of the other. So part of how you win in your professional fire is by being very intentional in designing the kind of work that it requires from you and the kind of lifestyle that you get to live because of the professional environment that you've created. The freedom model is based on this idea of liberty. I very much care about this idea of individual freedoms. While this is a conversation about the professional fire, I think its roots are actually in the purpose fire. So what I mean by that is in our purpose fire, we're trying to unpack and understand, what does our Creator want from us? How does God look at us? What kind of world did He create for us? And how do we live well into that world? But from the very, very beginning, at the dawn of creation, when God created the world and created human beings, one of the things that He gave us was the freedom of choice. He did not create automatons who had to do what He said. He said, in my perception of perfection, when I'm designing the universe, these humans will have choice. So this idea of choice, the ability to make decisions, is foundational to, I think, part of who we are as spiritual beings. That same principle of choice flows over into our professional fire, and so we can design an environment in our professional fire where we have more freedom.
More choices.
More choices, yeah. And that's kind of the point of, like, are freedom and choices synonymous? And I might argue that they are. The idea of, I don't think freedom is a binary. I don't think it's I either have freedom or I don't have freedom. I think what we're actually doing is continually growing and expanding our freedom by giving ourselves more and more choices, right? So the person who only has one choice in their life, well, they have one choice. I guess that's better than somebody who has no choices. Mm-hmm. The person who has two choices is better off than the person who has one. And the person who has 1,000 choices, I would argue, is more free than the person who has one choice. there's also an argument that says the person who has $1 in their wallet, that $1 represents one choice you can make. And a person who has $1,000 in their wallet, that represents 1,000 choices that you can make. The more choices you have, the more free you are. So at the very, very root, the freedom model in our professional fire is first and foremost about providing yourself with enough choices. If you dropped out of high school and you never finished your high school degree, one of the choices that is probably off your plate is going to an Ivy League college. Like, that's probably not a choice that's still on your plate. So part of what we're trying to do in our professional fire is open as many doors as possible so that we have more and more choices. The more skill sets that I have, the more things I'm good at, the more opportunity I have. So at the base level, that's a part of what we're trying to do for an individual contributor who's trying to grow themselves in their professional fire. I'm frustrated with how much I earn. Okay, well, what other opportunities do I have? I don't see any other opportunities. Okay, what skill sets do I need to learn so that I'll have more opportunities? Because the more opportunities, the more freedom. Where this really got started was we were working with entrepreneurs and helping them to think about the businesses that they were building and the systems that they were creating, and helping them to build those systems and structures in a way that would provide them more freedom. Because even for a person who might be making $1 million a year, sometimes they put themselves in a professional cage that they can't get out of.
Where their business or their job owns them. They actually aren't very free.
Which makes them less free, because there's different types of freedom. There's financial freedom. Financial freedom means that you have the resources to go buy the things that you would like to buy. But if you have to give away 80 hours a week
or
more of your time, then you don't have any time freedom. Right? And freedom is not just financial,
no.
Especially in our professional fire, because there's a lot of people who can trade 80 hours a week and go and earn a pile of money. But that's not the win, right? Then all of your other fires are wrecked. So we have to be intentional in how we design this work that we're doing to generate income such that it provides us the time freedom to spend time with our kids, to spend time with our wives, to work out, to pray, to journal, to take care of our other three fires. Yeah, most people are fighting for time freedom and financial freedom, and it's easy to get one or the other, right? I can be a beach bum that has all the time in the world hanging out on the beach, but I can't afford to buy anything. I have no financial wherewithal. But then conversely, I can go work 80 hours a week and have pretty good financial resources, and not have any time.
Right.
The win is when you get financial freedom and some of both.
Some of both.
So, for a business owner, there is a specific temptation for people who are in that space to want to pour more and more and more of your time into this business, to the point where it begins to consume you. The irony is the reason that you went into entrepreneurship and business for yourself and not going to work for a big corporation is because you didn't want the boundaries and the controls that are that usually go along with a big corporate job. Ironically, then you went and created all of your own boundaries and controls. Yeah. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to constrain ourselves into working at this job that we can't quit, or else the whole business would fall apart. A lot of this has to do with the work that we do with entrepreneurs and helping them build management teams. The management team really is the key to your ability to scale what you do. The skill set that you need, if you are frustrated at work, you feel like that your job owns you and you don't own your business. The skill set that you're missing is your ability to delegate and hold accountable. and to train and to develop good leaders. You need a management team. The freedom model for an entrepreneur looks like this. Scenario one, a business owner builds their business to a couple $1 million in revenue, and they're getting a healthy personal income off of that revenue, but they have to go to work or the business falls apart. And that's where many business owners find themselves. If I don't show up, the business goes away. In that scenario, if you ever want to sell your business, what you have the option to do, someone may come along and offer to buy your business, but they are going to require that you stay in your business for 2 to 3 years while they learn your business, while they install a management team. We call those golden handcuffs, right? You have sold your business. You are no longer in charge, but you are on the hook to spend 2 to 3 years working for someone else who is now running your business that you no longer own. This is oftentimes one of the most I watch entrepreneurs in this phase get really, really frustrated.
When they have put themselves in the position of the golden handcuffs.
Yep. Yeah. Because they think it's their only option, right? Like, I guess if I want to sell my company, the only people who are willing to buy it are going to require me to stay in it. From a buyer's perspective, that's prudent because as the owner, you are the key employee. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't buy a business and then, let the key employee walk out the door. That's not good business. Yeah, you've created the product that is your business is only valuable if you're there. So in that scenario, yes, you have one choice, which some people have not even built a business that's sellable. So that's better than zero choices.
Right.
But if we're a little more intentional, you can build a management team. And it takes at least, 18 to 24 months minimum to build a team of people who understand your business and have responsibility in these key areas. I mean, there's 4 key areas of every business. There's 5. I mean, there's a president, but then there's somebody who's in charge of sales and marketing, who is the primary person for notifying the marketplace that you have a product for sale. There's somebody who's in charge of operations, which is the person who says, okay, we just sold some stuff. Now we've got to deliver on what we sold. There's somebody who's in charge of accounting and finance. So after you've delivered the product, you got paid. There's some money that's owed to you. You owe some money to some people that make sure that they get paid. So that's the director of accounting and finance. And then there's a person who's in charge of HR and admin. When I say an executive team, a management team, you need somebody in each of those 4 spaces whose name is not yours. Like, you need somebody else living in each one of those categories. Otherwise, your business is not sellable without you as a part of the package. But once you build that management team and those people are in place and they understand their roles and they understand what to do, then the president's job is to delegate work to those people, hold them accountable for the work that they're supposed to do, set the vision and the course for the company. That's a job that you could, if that's the only role that you fill in your company as president, and you're also not in charge of being the number 1 salesperson in your company, that's a company that you can sell. And you can sell it without having to commit to years and years of the golden handcuffs, of staying on board. An analogy that we use a lot when we're talking about selling a business is this ATM machine.
Okay.
So the ATM machine metaphor is, so imagine this scenario. If I said, hey, Jeff, I've got this ATM machine here. It spits out $2 million a year. It just consistently keeps kicking out $20 bills. Every year it's about $2 million. Would you pay me $6 million for this machine that over the last 20 years has kicked out $2 million a year? Absolutely, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody who has any business sense is like, I pay $6 million? I can go borrow $6 million. The payments on that I can pay.
In 3 years, I'm making $2 million a year.
For sure. And I can pay for the payments on that borrowed $6 million with the $2 million that it's going to kick out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody is excited about buying a ATM machine that kicks out $2 million a year for $6 million. So in the business space, we would say that's a 3x multiple of EBITDA or discretionary earnings. Profit. Yep. Where the uncertainty starts to go is when the business owner says, hey, I've got this ATM machine. Would you like to buy it? And the prospective business owner says, sure. And we agree on a price. And then when we start to get to the closing of the deal, we go, oh, but you know that keyboard that's on the front of that ATM machine? I'm going to need to take that with me. And you know the plug that comes out of the back that powers this thing? I gotta disconnect that, and I gotta take that with me. And the screen where you can actually like see what all the money that's coming. I got to take that with me too. But here's most of an ATM machine. Well, all of a sudden, your confidence in shelling out $6 million for an ATM machine that worked when you had all those components is a lot lower. And that's the same thing that's going on in
when you take the key people.
When you take the key people out of the way, right? Essentially, like in your business, you're the keyboard and you're the power cord and you're the display. And so what business owners have to understand is when they're building a business to sell, they have to do the work to make sure that they're not one of the key components that makes it work. That's the magic. It's hard to do. It is people work where you build and you train and you develop other people to be able to run a business. But in the long term, it's what makes your business valuable to other people. But then here's the other irony. Once you've built that management team, why would I sell an ATM machine that's kicking out $2 million a year that I'm not one of the primary components of? So this is where the freedom model.
Yeah. So would you prefer to keep a $2 million profit, or $2 million worth of profit every year for the rest of your life, or sell it for $6 million today?
But you know what? That's a choice. Now you have more choices. Yeah. So one of the things we've been able to do for our clients is help them transition from being operators, from sitting in the operator chair, which is essentially the president, to just moving into the owner chair. The owner still gets the benefit of profit, but does not necessarily have to be going to work every day. And helping people get their head around there's a difference between being an operator and an owner. Those are two different seats. Most of the time you are an owner-operator. Building a management team and letting them either just be the president or transition into just being the owner, and you have a president who's running the company, then provides you with the option of, I could sell this entity as a fully functioning ATM machine, and if the future buyer said, oh, I need for you to stay on board for 2 or 3 years, you say,
no, you don't.
No, you don't. I haven't been in the office in 6 years. I would only screw things up.
Yeah.
You don't want me in that business.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so then you can sell the thing for the full value without giving up 2 to 3 years of becoming somebody else's employee. Or you can keep the business and just let it run by itself, meaning that you don't have any additional time investment in it other than meet with the leadership on sometimes a quarterly basis, sometimes a monthly basis, sometimes a weekly basis, depending on the stage of the business, and just it essentially functions as a cash cow. And what that has allowed people to do when you have a fully functioning business that's kicking off profit and you have all of your time back, then that means that you get to go launch other endeavors. And most of the gifting of entrepreneurs is in creation, not in management. So it really puts them back into their gift set. So, I mean, we wrote a book called You Don't Have to Manage What You've Made. And the whole premise of that is this idea that if I build a management team for the thing that I have created, this business that I've created, then that puts me out of the operator position, puts me into the owner position. Now I have more financial resources and time resources, and I can take those financial resources and invest in another organization and launch it and get it to the point of being able to function on its own. And then you also get to leverage all of your experience and the human capital resources that you have in your first business. And we've watched business owners go from like having one business that was doing $16 million a year, kicking off $2 million and $3 million in profit, to
five businesses, and their whole business portfolio is now over $100 million in revenue. Because their gift is in creation,
the gift
not
is
in
in
managing.
creation, and they were stuck in that management space.
But I like your line with you don't have to manage what you made, but you have to make sure what you made gets managed.
100%, yeah. And you do that by building a management team. Yeah, the freedom model is really focused on, at the entrepreneurial level, giving people more choices. In scenario one, if you don't have a management team, the only option you have is to sell your business at a suboptimal multiple of profit or EBITDA, and that's your choice. And you're going to get the golden handcuffs for 2 to 3 years, and that's what you got. But if you take the time to build the management team, then you have 2 other choices, really 3. Other choice number 1 is you build it and sell it without the golden handcuffs for a higher multiple. Option 2, you keep it and continue to invest your personal energy into it because you love what you're doing, and you've got a management team and they know what they're doing, and you're just going to add your gifts for vision and direction into it. But you could sell it at any time, or you can dial up or dial back your work commitment to it. It does not own you. You're just a additional contributing member. Or option 3, you can completely disconnect from it and be only in the owner role, and it operates as a cash cow. With a management team, you have 3 choices. Without a management team, you have 1 choice. The freedom model is 3 choices are way better than 1 choice. The more choices you have, the more free you are.
Is there a certain level of revenue that you feel like a business needs to reach before they could even consider going that route of the freedom model? If your business isn't big enough, you're like, well, I can't even really afford to pay anyone
For sure.
to come in and like take my place.
And that is the challenge of early business, is that you want to go fast, but you don't have the revenue to do it. So generally what we see is in around $1 million in revenue. And up.
Okay.
But around $1 million, thoughtful entrepreneurs can begin to acquire talent that is competent and
that they
engaged,
can start training.
that they can begin to train to be these executive level type people.
Yeah.
You can do it earlier, right? I mean, like when you're talking about talent, you got 2 choices. You can either build talent or you can buy talent. So, I mean, start on day 1 with your very first employee, training them and developing them and seeing what level can you get them to. I know several companies that the person who came in as the administrative assistant as the first employee is now at an executive level. I mean, one of our clients, the person who is now the president of a tens of millions of dollar company, was the executive assistant making $8.50 an hour, $10 an hour when they came in. But they grew in alignment with the growth of the business. They grew as a person professionally at the same speed that the business grew. And so they were the natural choice for the president role.
Whenever I've had conversations with people about growing a business or just like general money topics, seems like people sometimes get like, oh, why? That's not fair that like the business owner gets to grow a business, and oh, why is he's not even working and he makes $1 million. But what you just pointed out was, if you go the freedom model route, the topic that I'm thinking of is we had another guy on the podcast, Justin, and he talked about king and queen building is kind of what he called it, where you're actually able to, as a business owner, if you grow your business and you go that route, you can provide an amazing level of professional success for other people when you step out, and they can grow your business.
For sure.
And so that's a really cool part. It's not about like the greedy business owner who just wants to like get out and not work and make money, but he's actually able to help all of these other people in his business make an income that maybe they would have never made if he wouldn't have stepped out of the president role.
For sure. And the other thing is, I wouldn't wish the first 18 months of building a business on anyone. I mean, it is a slog. Like anybody, I mean, I just don't know a business owner who has said, oh man, yeah, I started this business and yep, everything was smooth sailing. Mm-hmm. Like there's always a story of a guy or a gal staying up late at night, working on doing things they don't want to do by themselves because there's no one else to do it. And it is that gift. These people are the Navy SEALs of business. They're willing, they just won't quit. But the danger is
they just won't quit.
They just won't quit. Yeah. Yes. And so so then that prevents them from building that management team. You have to shift out of, it's a different skill set to build a self-managing company. Than it is to build a company that is just going from the ground up, the one-man show, slugfest. You have to get to a point, say, yes, that was necessary, and now I have to pivot to another skill set, which is building my management team. Otherwise, if you can't step away from your business and it continue to function, you don't have a business, you have a high-paying job. What are you building? Are you building a high-paying job, or are you building a business? And the only way it qualifies as a business is if you could step away and it not fall apart, which means you need a management team.
So on that note, how do you know if you can step away or not? Like, how do you figure out, if I stepped out, my business would keep going?
Yeah, that's tricky because you've always been there. You are the consistent factor in your business. So one of the exercises that we have taken business owners through is that we create a plan. Usually it's 10, 12, 18 months. It starts off with, who do you have on your team who you think is high capacity? And do they have a clear understanding of the specific areas that they have autonomy and responsibility for? Right. So again, usually it's these 4 areas. Somebody's got to be in charge of sales and marketing. Somebody's got to be in charge of operations. Somebody's got to be in charge of accounting, finance, and somebody's got to be in charge of HR and admin. So once you identify who those people are, and they have very clear job descriptions, and they have demonstrated with some sense of regularity that they can perform those tasks, then what we begin to do, and we'll name it at the beginning of the process, is a date that, and sometimes this is named within the company, but most of the time it's not.
Yeah, it's just for the owner to...
The owner and the coach are usually sitting down saying, okay, look, February of next year, or spring break of next year, or summer vacation of next year, let's run an experiment. You're going to be gone for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks. What could you believe that you could be gone, how long you could be gone for, and have the business still function? And they usually get really nervous when I say, so a month? And they're like, whoa, no, not a month.
Maybe it's that 2 week mark.
Yeah. Could you? I mean, some people it's like, can I be gone for 2 weeks and the business not fall apart?
Yeah.
And them not be blowing up your phone. Right. So this is how we measure health, and we've done this a lot of different ways. We had one entrepreneur, we'd been working with him for a little bit. he and his wife figured out that they were pregnant, and I was like, okay, paternity leave. Mm-hmm. We're just going to tell everybody that you're going to be gone for a month for paternity leave.
Yeah.
And then, he was super nervous about that. And I said, look, here's the deal. We're coaching your management team. We will walk alongside them, and I will let you know if they are driving your business into the ground. Mm-hmm. So we put extra effort on coaching during that month when he was gone, but everything went so smoothly. He never came back. He never went back to his office after that.
Now he just has quarterly meetings with his team or something
Yeah,
like
and
that.
He does them off-site. He does not even go in the building anymore. We have another guy this summer. I just got off the phone with him last week, and this summer he's talking about spending 6 weeks in Europe with his kids.
Wow.
He was the guy who was consumed, working 80 hours a week, couldn't ever get away. Kids didn't know where he was. Like, he was just the absentee father. And now he's trying to convince his wife that they need to go spend 6 weeks in Europe. And she's like, that's a long time to be away from home. And he's like, let's go.
We have the choice.
We have the financial freedom and we have the time freedom, and we only have these young kids for a season.
That's so cool.
Let's go. Mm-hmm. It's a game changer when you build that management team. And again, it's people work. It's hard. It's messy. Humans are the hardest part of business, but it can be done if you are intentional about what you're building.
So what's your final thought to share with a business owner out there that maybe wants to hear more? Or what would be their next step if they even wanted to talk to you?
Yeah, obviously, this is the work that we do over on the lead side, is coaching and consulting business owners on how to design their businesses in a way that helps them live a 4-dimensional life, right? Because when you're well-resourced and when you have the time freedom, you get to be the kind of guy who can invest in their church. You get to be the kind of guy who can invest in their kids' lives. You can be their soccer coach and their football coach, and you can be you can be a fully present dad, and you can take your wife on incredible dates. And you are not beholden to this beast that you have created. If you are a business owner who has taken the courageous step of building a business, it is hard. Honest to goodness, less than 4% of businesses that ever start reach over $1 million in revenue. Just the courage it would take to go start a business. But I hate seeing good men and women consumed by the thing that they created to give them freedom, to have that be the thing that sucks the freedom out of them. Create a new standard for what winning in your business life looks like. And that revenue number and even that profit number are not the ultimate metrics for success in business. If it is wrecking your life, there's a better way to do this. Get a third party, get somebody who can help you redesign your business in a way so that you get to live the lifestyle that you intended when you started the business. Yeah, for any business owner out there who wants to talk about this freedom model in a little more depth, you're welcome to visit leadadvisors.org. You can reach out to me personally or anybody on our team, and they'll walk you through what that process looks like. For those of you who are thinking about how do I start a business? How do I grow myself professionally? I'm currently not running a business, but want to think about what would that look like for me to grow myself professionally. We have a lot of resources here on the Four Fires Tribe that we encourage you to get connected with, network with people, dream big dreams, partner up with another Four Fires guy and say, hey, let's commit to start a business together. Do something on the side. Get creative about how do I get more financial and time freedom in your life so that you can live this 4-dimensional life that you want to build. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do. You just have to live intentionally.
Choose to chase after it.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Alan, for explaining that. And guys, I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Four Fires Podcast.